Ngā mihi mahana kia koutou, nā mai haere mai ki tēnā hui. He kara ki a tātou. Tui ki runga, tui ki raro, tui ki roto, tui ki waho, tui a tātou te tangata, ki te kaupapa o te hui nei, ki te kaupapa o te rangi nei, mauri ora ki a tātou katoa. Essentially bind us to the purpose of our meeting today. In terms of housekeeping, welcome to those on Zoom as well. And we have Councillors Butler, Kinnamonth and Greening on Zoom today. And just remember to keep your microphones turned off, please, and hands up if you'd like to speak. We have media here in the room in the form of Max. Welcome. I'm not sure if anyone else is on Zoom. And to note that the meeting is being recorded and is available on our fantastically successful YouTube channel. We've got apologies today from Deputy Mayor Bryant and Councillor Walker, who's on other council business. Is somebody happy to move the apologies? Councillor Shell Crass, and seconded Councillor Maru. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. We come to public forum. We've got one speaker today, Mr. Schaffner. Welcome. You have 10 minutes. We've got a chap on the bell here. He'll let you know when about 9's gone by if you need all of that. Thanks.
Morning, Madam Chair. Has been a long time since I've been here, but great that I'm allowed to speak today. And my speaking slot is not declined today. Thank you for that. But your staff sent me an email yesterday, when I registered for the speaking slot, and I think it's good to read out one line from this email. They said, "It is unclear what value there is in revisiting an issue the courts have already resolved," quote end. And I hope in the next few minutes you will find some value in what I have to say today. It's absolutely right that the courts made their judgment. And the first thing I would want to clarify, because there's some confusion I heard from several councillors who actually initiated these court proceedings. There were some councillors who thought I was the one who initiated court proceedings, but this was not the case. It was clearly stated in official records that it was Madam Chair, together with Mr. Drummond, you two decided to bring a tiny house case to the courts. So I think that clarifies for some councillors who has a misunderstanding on that. And we all know the outcome of this proceeding. I don't have to go into details. A woman in her 60s is now homeless. The council lost tens of thousands of dollars that are not recoverable. I lost $150,000. So that's the outcome. And you probably had good reasons to do this decision, but the public doesn't know why, because the public interest test is kept confidential. And from a ratepayer perspective, this is a bit frustrating that you spend tens of thousands of dollars. And do you need time to speak to each other? Okay, thank you. Okay, cool, thank you. But the public probably wants to know, well, what the public benefit of all of this is. But what I'm here today, it's actually another question. And it's not only me having this question. I think it's a lot of people having the same question. And I think the mayor called it last year hundreds of people, and I agree with this quantification. And of course, it's about tiny homes on wheels. What else? And the question goes to the core: what do people need to do to be compliant? Or to be more specific, what makes a vehicle fixed to the land? Or you can flip the question the other way around. What do people need to do so that their vehicles are not fixed to the land, so that they are compliant with the rules. And yeah, the major said there are hundreds of people, and I agree with this, and they all have the same question: what they need to do with their vehicles to be compliant. And we heard a lot, especially in the last meeting, about educational first approach. And I see today on the agenda in the group managers report, that's your approach. But then just say it. What do the people need to do to be compliant? And I think it's a great opportunity to clarify this. Then honestly, after 3 years and 2 court cases and a lot of money involved, I honestly still don't know the answer to that question. What makes a vehicle fixed to land? And the major was the mayor was asked a few weeks ago in these Meet the Candidates meeting, the exact same question, but he did not provide an answer, unfortunately. And some journalists contacted me beginning of this week, and I wasn't sure what to tell her. Right? It's a bit frustrating. But she also contacted the council, and the council provided some information to her. So I think it's a good opportunity that the council also provides information to the public, because they have questions and they like to know how to be compliant with the rules. Other councils, they do this. Just one example, I think it's in Bay of Plenty. They have a guide on their website with a lot of photographs, and then they say that's allowed with a green check mark, and then another photograph that's not allowed with a red cross and a bit of commentary, and that's clear: photographs, commentary, red cross, green check mark. People know what they can do and what they are not allowed to do. And it would be good if this council has a similar approach, especially if I hear continuously over and over again, yeah, educational first approach, we want to see that people are compliant. Yeah, then this would be a good way forward. And maybe it's all clear for you guys and for Mr. Drummond and all the staff, and it's only me who is a bit of not capable enough to understand this, then it should be really easy to explain it in one line, one sentence, 1 minute, to say, oh, if you do A, B, or C, then your vehicle is fixed to land. And then it's okay. Then everyone knows, I know, the public knows, all the hundreds of people, then they know the answer, what makes their vehicle fixed to the land. And of course, it cannot be on a case-by-case basis, and we need to see and we need to inspect, because the rule needs to be clear, precise, objective, applicable to every situation. So, yeah. So, and again, to be clear, it's not about resource constants. This is not the question. The question is not, oh yeah, just pay money and then you get a resource constant. The question really is, what makes a vehicle fixed to the land? And it would be great if someone can provide an answer to this. Maybe Mr. Drummond today, or maybe some of you guys can ask him, or some staff can provide an answer to this. This would be really appreciated, because in the past I heard a lot about enforcement action and enforcement policy and enforcement officers. This enforcement word is really big, but we can get out of this enforcement really easy if we provide educational material to the people and maybe to me. On that note, I think this question, what you just said, what makes a vehicle fixed to land, has a lot of public value. And of course, even the media contacted me about this. And yeah, if you want to stick to that question, Madam Chair, then maybe we can also stick that we get an answer to this question and we can close this chapter. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would have thought that some of the material brought forward in the Environment Court would have answered this for you.
No, unfortunately not. Unfortunately, the court documents did not answer this question. That's why there's still a lot of uncertainty, not only for me, a lot of people. But if Mr. Drummond, okay, but if you or Mr. Drummond or anyone else is of the opinion that there is a paragraph in the court judgment that explains this, what makes a vehicle fixed to land, then you, Madam Chair, or he could just say, look at paragraph 1 to 3 or whatever it is, and there you can read it. And maybe you can then publish this paragraph on your website, then everyone knows it. But I haven't found it, and I paid lawyers $500, $600 an hour, which in the end more than $100,000, and they couldn't find it. So it's not only me; it's also other people cannot find this. But of course, if you are of the view that it is in the court record, then I'm happy to look again. If you tell me at what paragraph. Thank you, Madam Chair. If you have any other question for me, then I'm happy to answer this, or maybe some other elected representative.
No, I think that's it. Thank you.
But will I get an answer then afterwards from your staff? Because that happens to a lot of other people that sit here in this chair. Then they get an answer after the meeting. Will I get an answer?
Thank you. We've heard your question.
Will I get an answer after this meeting?
After this meeting?
Yeah, from your staff, because that's the.
I don't know. I don't know that yet. Thank you. That's all. We're going to carry on.
Oh, thank you. That's very polite. Thank you. I felt really.
It's your game, brother. It's your game. I'm going to move to declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest today? Councillor Mayland.
Yes, the owner of the Marport Ferry is my next door neighbour, so I won't be voting on that particular issue today.
Thank you. Any others? No late items. We've got minutes to confirm that the minutes of the Environment and Regulatory Committee meeting held on Thursday, 17 July 2025 be confirmed as a true and correct record of the meeting. Is somebody happy to move? Thank you, Councillor Mackenzie, and seconded
Alice.
Councillor Ellis. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. Which moves us to our reports. And the first is Kim, your Group Manager report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'll take this report as read and just emphasise the point that there is quite a strong regulatory focus this time round, not only in the Group Manager's report, which is looking to cast an eye across the developments that are happening centrally and how they might impact on us locally, but also in the agenda papers, where we're actually having a bit of a sort of a coming together of some of the I guess the activity that's been undertaking to give effect to our regulatory requirements, and noting that in the central government rhetoric at the moment, there's a growing recognition of the value of regulation across regional council, or across local government, regional councils and territorial authorities, in our case unitary councils. And that's starting to grow, and the indications are that that would be far more prominent in future Local Government Act than it currently is, although it has been in the past a feature under previous governments that regulation is seen in that light. There's obviously takes up 100 or so pages, I see, my report, and that's because there are 4 attachments that give elected members a sense of how staff responded to 4 pieces or 4 packages of national direction that the agencies have been consulting over during the period between the last committee meeting and the current one. So that gives you a sense of how staff packaged up the thoughts as to where that national direction would impact locally for us. And that's gone through. So that's for your information rather than seeking your retrospective approval, because it was done by staff. So with those few comments, I'm happy to open up for questions.
Thank you. Councillor Mayland.
Not so much a question, Mr. Drummond, but just a comment that there is an awful lot of change coming our way. And some of it will involve, particularly in the RMA space, a lot of work, particularly with the new plan and things like that. So it's when you look at the pressure that's on councils in terms of rates, there is an awful lot of work to be done in that next 3 years in terms of changing rules, that how we're going to have to operate. And that will just put councils under more pressure going forward, I think.
Just one comment in relation to that the government are looking to ease the somewhat of the duplication that might result from going down a different path, and hence the plan stock provisions that were brought into the most recent bill and without being signalled through the select committee process. It's quite an unusual sort of step that was taken to say, right, we need to stop what we're doing now and gear up for what we need to be doing in the future. So it is very much a time of uncertainty, and I'm sure that Barry will be available to answer any elected members' questions around the implications of that. There is a pathway forward for this council. I think this council has been very tuned into what is essential to be done in this region and this district, and I think the provisions in the Act suggest that the sorts of initiatives that Tasman's got underway will continue to be supported through that transition phase.
Thank you, Councillor Breening, and then Councillor Kinnamonth and Councillor Mackenzie.
Through the chair, I just wanted to put it to the General Manager, Mr. Drummond, whether he would like to respond to the question asked by Mr. Schaeffler. And also, I'm just wondering what is the plan in terms of providing succinct communication to the public on the issue, given the wide confusion, and noting that I think in workshops, I think the Bay of Plenty example was circulated to staff as a potential model.
Just a few thoughts on that one. Right now, we don't have that as a matter on the agenda to progress. It's something that we're able to look into on the discussion with the chair. So that's something that we'll get to. But to help us into the situation, we did seek further clarification from the for public forum speaker today to see whether there was something we could actually get ready for to respond, but we were unable to get any clarification. So that is not something we're able to work with today.
Well, you will be providing an answer, and you will also be communicating to the general public. So there is a lack of confusion, or is that still pending?
I just think that's the point that I made, that will be a matter that we'll take up with the chair, and then we'll go from there.
Right. So I would like to see, I think, general public as well, and it's a big issue, as we have discussed many times in workshops, and we've had many workshops on it. So I think we do need to address it.
Thank you. Noted. Councillor Kinnamonth.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Sure can.
Thank you. Thank you for your report, Mr. Drummond. On page 6, clause 5.12, talk about fishing, and council may regulate fishing by either permitting or prohibiting it in certain areas. Are we talking about commercial fishing there, or recreational fishing?
So that picks up on where the council responded to the bill that was consulted on by the select committee, and the position that this council advanced was that in support of the government's proposals, in the sense that council can look to manage fishing in order to achieve further obligations under the Resource Management Act, but that it should be something that council initiates rather than come in through a submission process. And it would apply to recreational fishing and commercial fishing, but the courts have determined that it cannot apply to customary fishing. So that would be outside of the remit of this particular provision. Where we get to with this is that in some parts of the country, submission processes have led to quite extensive court actions around the council's role to regulate fishing, and it's been quite a divisive approach, and the government is looking to consolidate that to say where necessary the council can do so, but it should not be something that comes in through a submission process. And even when the council wants to do so, it has obligations to discuss those potentials with the Ministry for Primary Industries, who are the key regulators of fisheries, and also with Te Huka Moana, who's the treaty partner representative in fisheries. So it's quite a complex area to go into, but this council's submission has effectively been supported by the government's decision, and that has now been enacted.
Okay, so one other question, obviously it will go through the due process of consultation with the public and recreational fishers.
No, this is now law. That process has already been followed. So when we're applying to a select committee or we're giving a submission to a select committee, that's part of the consultative process. So we've gone through that, and the government has now determined that that the arrangements that are now in the Act are the arrangements that are in play.
I'm sorry, just for clarity, I was talking more about in what locations the council will permit or prohibit fishing. So I'm not against the law. I just wanted to make sure that our ratepayers were aware of what areas we were going to be prohibiting fishing and let them have their say.
Absolutely, that can only be done through a planning initiated plan process. And there's no such provisions in play in this district at this point in time.
Okay, thank you. And then one last comment that I fully support Councillor Greening's last statements, and that I would like to see any communications that you make to the SAPers also go around the committee, if that could be asked, please.
Thank you. Councillor McKenzie.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Just a question, Kim, if I could, just so I understand it. In paragraph 5.7, you're talking about the section 70 matters where council can permit certain discharges. So you'll recall those discussions we had some time ago with some members of the Mapua community around discharges. So, which of course are currently not permitted in our plan. So is my understanding of this meaning that this change would allow those discharges, providing we have a plan to rectify within the 10 years? Is that what this is talking about?
I'll give a first line, but Barry may be better positioned to give you the clarification you need. These particular provisions have been driven by primary industry needs, and so that's what the Section 70 measure is particularly about. In the case of Mapua, the planning framework doesn't allow for the authorisation for sewage overflows. So the position there was that couldn't be authorised through consent or anything of that nature. So it's if that plan rule changes, then it could potentially look into this situation. But I think it's a different situation, and I don't think that's what was in the mind of the government to enable that type of pollution over a period of time. But Barry may have a better answer.
No, that's pretty much right. It was to do with reduction of things like nitrate losses in farms and irrigation companies. Without the law change, due to a court case, it meant that you couldn't, over time, if you were having, if you had discharge of nitrates, you couldn't reconsent it if there was an effect on the environment. So the law's been changed to say you can have a consent, but you must reduce your impact on the environment over the next 10 years.
So I've gone a bit of a bridge too far.
I think Leif might have a word or two to add to that.
Through the chair, the Mapua issue was related to wastewater discharges. The wastewater discharges are effectively being moved out of the RMA, and the Water Services Act is coming through with a standard for bypasses and discharges from the network in the next few months. So they will control the consenting of that. So that'll be done through that process. It won't be done through our plan at all. So effectively that will be a controlled activity where you will have to apply for a consent, but you will need to provide a risk management plan to explain how you manage the network, etc. So it's basically being taken out of our hands at a planning level.
All good? Councillor Maru.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to do Councillor McKenzie's not here, so I'll ask a different question. The other one's best. Mr. Drummond, in terms of the questions around the tiny homes as fixed to land. It's not really a question, but I was under the understanding that perhaps the policy team were still looking at things. So I guess my question is, between the ELT, can we just have a follow-up in terms of where we landed and where there was? Because certainly there's been things I've sent through to Mr. Ridge's team rather than your team in terms of policy versus enforcement. So while there might not be an enforcement response, I am I am interested to see what the response from a policy and the future play of our workshops happen. Because whilst you get to enforce the rules, there is another team that assists in making the rules.
I guess the answer to that is our cheese has been moved a little bit. With the government putting a plan stop provision in place, the clear message is that we ought not be adjusting planning frameworks during the interim until the government makes it clear what it expects the phase 3 reforms to look like and the law that will support them. They've given some early indications around their national standards, so hence the consultations that they've carried out are expected to be sewn into the new law. So they've indicated in some areas how that's likely to play out. But they very much, at this point in time, the message is don't start on adjusting planning frameworks to meet things in the short term, because the government has a different approach to in the medium term. So hence, my understanding is our ability to go and adjust the current planning framework for those reasons is somewhat limited, if not prevented.
Are you happy to receive the report?
Happy to move, Madam Chair.
Any other questions? Somebody happy to second? Councillor Mayling. Thank you, Kim. It's helpful as ever to have your outline of the moving feast of reform. I'll put the resolution. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. I think we have Peter Renshaw on Zoom. So our report on application for automatic identification system exemptions. Over to you, Peter.
Kia ora. Just trying to get my camera working, sorry. So
I'm just stepping away from the table because of the sun.
Sure.
there we go. Okay, can everybody hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Yep, we
Perfect.
can hear you. Yep.
Camera should be turning on
There
shortly.
you go. Welcome.
Kia ora, through the chair. I'll sort of take that decision paper as read. It's very similar to the last exemptions we saw on the last Environmental Regulatory Committee. Just got a few more operators. I'm not expecting any other applications to come forwards. These are sort of the last ones that I would be expecting. However, obviously, if anybody does apply, we will bring it to the committee to decide. These vessels in particular are slow speed, and I believe don't meet the standard or the intent of the AIS requirements. Therefore, my recommendation is that they do be approved. Is there any questions or anything I can clarify for you?
Thanks, Peter. Yes, Councillor Dowler and then Councillor Maru. Oh, great. Thank you.
I'm happy to second this, Madam Mayor. I just think it's great to have a system where we can have.
I think you just called me a mayor.
Oh, sorry, Madam President.
Very good. Any questions or comments around this? Look, thanks, Peter. Your report makes clear in detail about why these exemptions would be appropriate in this case. So a resolution is receiving the report and approving the exemptions for Mapua Ferry, Ripple and Tender 1. I'll put the resolution. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, Peter.
Thank you.
Katrina, welcome.
Morning, Chair and councillors. So I'll take my report as being read. However, I might just summarise a few key findings and outcomes. In the last 6 months, this report is about the last 6 months, January to June. However, being the end of the financial year, I've kind of reported also on the whole financial year and comparing to a few other financial years along the line. But the statutory timeframes have improved, which is an awesome improvement, through from 69% through to 78% compliance. A notable improvement is through the subdivision team, going from 30% through to 71% improvement. That probably was due to having quite an influx end of June of subdivisions that came in. A number of smaller ones have come in since then, so we've been able to get on top of a few of those complying statuses. So we also had very similar number of applications received compared to the last 6 months, but it's been quite consistent over the last 2 financial years, and the same with the decisions as well. Discount penalties increased slightly over this last 6 months, but over the actual entire financial year they've decreased, so that's still a positive note, and improved over the last few years. We have had a busy 6 months with staffing. 4 consent planners did resign and 1 retirement, as you all heard about Neil, after 45 years. And then we've all been saying that we've recruited 3 new planners and a 4th to start in September, plus a new development engineering officer. One significant change in the team has been setting up the LIMS property information team. As you're aware, that team has been, decision was made to put that into the resource consents team, so there's a bit of information in there about where that's come from and why, and we've also now got that team full with 5 people, and including Mike Carey as a team leader, so I thought I'd bring him in and introduce Mike Carey down the back here. Say hello, put a face to the name of a team leader in the new discipline really in the new resource consent section. Duty planning, so that's one thing that has increased our workload over the last few years. Every time I report on this, the graph's going up and up. 600 extra a year service requests into the resource consents team, in particular our land use team getting a bit slammed with an extra 251 in this 6-month period. So it's a pretty busy space. Going to look into kind of trying to find from our system kind of reporting around what we're seeing, what's the kind of, is there any sort of reason for this, or is there any sort of pattern along those lines? And that's something we'll keep having a look into. We are starting to report in my going forward in these 6 monthly reports is around LIMS. So this report gives you a bit of a graph of how many received and how many issued. And then I think notable really is around our notified consents, hearings and appeals. So this has been a busy past 6 months, and of interest, we've got a couple of appeals on our books. So we have the CJ's gravel extraction. So the environmental court final decision came out and was appealed to the High Court. So we're working through those matters at the moment. And also we have land use consent and Lower Moutere decision, which was appealed to the Environment Court. We're hoping it's going to work through some informal discussions and avoid going to court as such. And then as you'll note in the information we've provided to the councillors and the public, that the Mapua boat ramp decision was declined this week, and the appeal period closes for that 17th of September. We have also 6 other consents in hearing or in a potential hearing process. So that's keeping our principal planners and planners quite busy. Overall, we're also adapting to how we respond to the recent consent changes under the RMA. So there's a few things we need to do in an administration place around templates and things like that. So we're working through that and getting our head around interpreting a few parts to that, and also watching and contributing to other councils too. So trying to kind of keep across other councils and how they're responding as well. So that's a bit of a summary. Any questions? Or?
Thank you. Councillor Kinnamonth.
Yes, good morning, Katrina. I just wanted to thank you and your team for an excellent report, which has been very trying and difficult conditions, especially given the staff changes. So can you please pass on my thoughts to your team, say thank you very much for all the hard mahi you've been doing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mailing and then Councillor Butler.
Yes, I'll echo those comments. Considerable improvement, Katrina, over the last year in a very difficult time. Particularly, it seems senior planners are like gold. The only good thing is maybe the Australians aren't pinching them, but certainly other places are. Will you have a template? So my question is, will you have a template in terms of water right transfers? I'm thinking of the Waimea Plains, which is a relatively simple thing. If both parties are affiliated and you want to move some shares. I saw a thumbs up from back, so that's very good.
There you go. Yep.
Because that would certainly resolve some angst. But I just thought there were some huge improvements coming through, but you still end up with the very, very complicated consents, which take a lot of time. And you seem to be getting more of those.
Yes, would be the solid answer to that. Yeah.
I know last time you were talking about the more consent applications coming in that were getting more and more complicated, and you've seen in this report even more so. What does that mean? Like what's happening? What type of applications are being received that are extra complex? Is it just more of?
I don't know if you could pinpoint it on a certain why, because they're all different points. So when you look across the reasons why, I mean, there is more vocal people out there won't have a say on consents and may, yeah, as far as not giving the original written approval for a consent and actually having to question that process. So there's maybe a bit more of that going on, but the process itself, it's not easy. We still have a complicated TRMP. I mean, it's as simple as that. It's not in a unitary space. It's a large document. Finding that consistent nature across trying to find internal planners versus we're using external consultants because we have to as well. It's a huge juggle, really, to try and keep that consistency across that. So, yes, it's a trying time for, as we know, for people out there as well. So it's, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor.
Just add to what Katrina said there. One of the areas that is popping up as being particularly challenging is dealing with people's aspirations near areas of natural hazard. So whether they're in flood zones or in areas that are exposed to sea level rise, the big weight at the moment falls on the consents team to work through the specifics of how those sorts of applications can be approved, and they're requiring quite considerable effort. And the absence of a lot of national direction, because obviously government's gearing up for how adaptation ought to be best managed locally, is doing a lot of thinking in that space. But at the moment, I guess the frontier is felt by the consents folk who have got to deal with real issues, while the wider framework is still being put together.
Thank you, Councillor Butler.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for the report. I agree that it's it's looking really good. Look, I've just got a question around the comment that you have in there about the new act, the Resource Management Amendment Act, and that natural hazards will be more influential in the granting of resource consents. Would you be able to can we just sort of round that out a little bit? And will that actually be likely to influence the granting of resource consents for coastal properties, subdivisions, that type of thing in the future?
Yeah, so currently under the Resource Management Act, we do have a section 106, which is about significant natural hazards being assessed through subdivision. So we already have that mechanism where we can assess through a subdivision potential significant natural hazards, and we work through that process through reports and technical and mitigation through that space. What this has now allowed is that we haven't had a regulatory framework around land use consents being able to actually assess against natural hazard potential impact and mitigation around that. So this now gives us a bit of teeth in some respects to say, okay, I've got a land use consent development now through, they've tapped on a section 106A now, which is essentially the same as the 106 that's already there around what natural hazards they refer to. So now we are, our land use team is talking with our natural resources, our natural hazards team around how we respond and looking for some consistency nature around that in scenarios. So we've already started to talk about where and what situations would there be any sort of any sort of mitigation or how we respond to that. We've already been doing that in some sense through our TRMP and that. So we're working in that space and also watching across other councils. I see we've got a local government planners chat and people are asking the same question, how are people gearing up to actually respond to this? What does this look like? So we as councils, we don't get a huge lead into all this stuff like the public may think we do, like consultants. I've been talking to consultants this week thinking we've got this rose glass that comes in and it's like we already know what's going on. We've all got to set up the guidelines and the templates. It doesn't work like that. Unfortunately, the government, we get the same information at the same time as the public and the consultants. So we're finding our feet through it. But it is important that we're looking at it from a consistent nature and in a legal sense as well.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I think that will be welcomed by the community because people are concerned about resilience and too much building along the coastline. So look, my other question is just about consents for taking gravel out of the rivers. And, an issue has risen here in Golden Bay where there's been a claim that it is too difficult to get the consents to actually remove gravel out of the rivers, even though there is an agreement that actually should be able to happen from the rivers team. And maybe I could take this offline, but it would be good to just get a bit more information about how that consenting actually works. I know council's got a global consent. Does the operator, the contractor, have to have a consent as well?
Okay, I might get Leif to answer that because I'm not too sure the specifics around that one.
Right.
Yeah.
Through the chair. There's two basic types of gravel consent. One is for river management purposes, and you're referring to the consent that the council holds to remove gravel, to manage the gravel within the river system for river management purposes. The second type of consent that you can get is for just taking gravel for your own purposes. I'm very surprised that the engineers can't use their consent in Golden Bay if it's for river management purposes. We'd need to find out some more detail from you.
Well, okay. Shall I can put that through to you then by email.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll deal with it that way. I'll come back.
Yes, thanks.
Would you like me to come back to the chair with that as well, or?
Yeah, maybe it's an email to go out with your response. Yeah, it sounds like it's hard to pick what it relates to.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in this field at the moment with recovery as well, particularly through the Motueka system. So there's quite a few balls in the air at the moment.
Yeah.
In relation to gravel.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thanks, Celia. Councillor McKenzie.
Thank you very much through you, Chair. Thanks for your report, Katrina. It's very comprehensive and showing some great signs of improvement and progress, as well as taking on additional roles in the LIM team and working within a very changing environment. So thank you. I don't have a question, but look, I just felt that we need to, I don't know, Neil, but just to acknowledge 45 years of service. I mean, what an amazing accomplishment, and really just want to acknowledge that great service contribution.
Just on that one, we did previously point to Neil's achievements and noted that his one desire was to achieve a rain radar for the region. So he looks like he's getting his wish.
45 years to get it.
Thank you. Councillor, that might say Dowler, do you think? Yep.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Seeing this is the last meeting of this type I'll be speaking to. Regulatory.
Got another on the 2nd of October.
Oh, is it?
We're running right up to the brink.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, well, I'll still say it today anyway. I'm really gutted to read in the report once again that there's been a resource consent application 15 months ago. 208 submissions, 55 people wanted to be heard, and the applicant still won't pay the money for anything to proceed or withdraw the resource consent. I'm gutted. I know there's a hell of a lot of people in the community are gutted as well.
Thank you. Welcome, Councillor Walker. Any other comments or questions? I appreciate it is a comprehensive report with a lot of detail, Katrina. It really helps us sort of understand the state of play. So I appreciate how you put that together, and of course the improvements. I think it's really the little chart that you have that's got the where you're outlining improvements and progress. That's really helpful, you know, to have that presented that way. But still, you know, difficult area that you work in, and I appreciate the acumen that you bring into your managing that area. Thank you. Has somebody moved the report? Councillor Mayling, and seconded Councillor McKenzie. I'll put the resolution to receive the report. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Wastewater report. Welcome.
Morning, councillors. Through you to the chair. I tell you that the report has been read and ask for any questions.
It has been read, yes. Any questions? Or comments? You're happy to move, Councillor Mayling?
Yep.
Seconded by Councillor Dowler. Nothing offered. Thank you. Oh, yes.
Just note that we are now able to pump a lot more wastewater through Beach Road, so we should get less overflows with the new resilience that we've got there with the duplication of the pipeline. And I think it pumps now, is it 800 cubes a minute or 800? It's certainly increased the capacity a lot more. But if we get less infiltration during weather, we will get less overflows.
Absolutely. It's one of our biggest issues is down the Beach Road discharge. So especially in the last floods that we've had, has the increase just in the last little bit of rain that we've had has outdone itself. So it's been a really good improvement in the system itself.
If there's nothing further, I'll put the resolution to receive the report. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Dog Control Act Section 10A report. Welcome, Shannon.
Morning, councillors and chair. I'll take the report as read. Just a quick summary on it. We've continued to find an increase in urban registrations, a decrease in rural registrations, and overall the dog numbers in the district have fallen slightly over the last reporting period. We have seen a mild increase in complaints received, and there's been a decrease to 0 probationary owners in the district. So the 2 probationaries that we had last reporting period have now expired off those probationary timeframes and are now off that list.
Thank you. Councillor Ellis.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Quick question. Thanks for your report, Shannon. I'm just wondering, on 5.8, it says there's 12 reports of dogs attacking wildlife. Are they in the tables that are above? Are they within those tables, or is that just a separate tally? And there's no, and if they're not within those statistics in the tables, are we starting to keep statistics on those, or are there no statistics in the past? Can I just have some clarification around that?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, this is a statistic that is not required by DIA. So the Section 10A report is a requirement by the DIA to report on certain factors, which is what we see in the tables. Through the bylaw process, it was heard that this was a metric that we wanted to start measuring. So that's why I've included it in the Section 10A report now. It is a metric that we haven't reported on previously, but it is a metric we did keep records of. We just haven't reported on it previously. Now we're starting to report on it.
Thank you for that clarification.
Councillor Shellcrest.
Yeah, thanks for the report. Hey, I've got a question just around your connection with Nelson City Council with dog registrations. Do you guys have a link up within that space? Main one is if, say, a dog gets transferred from Nelson to Tasman or vice versa. Do you have communication in that space?
Through you, Madam Chair. We do, but it's not a consistent communication. We've got the National Dog Database, which records the registration of all dogs across the country. So when a dog moves from another district into our district and we register it here, it pings as a duplication on NDD, National Dog Database, and we reconcile it through there. When a dog transfers out, if we know where it's going, we do send emails to their animal control team to give them a heads up that there's a new dog coming in, so they can reconcile their NDD as well. It's down to the local territorial authority to manage the National Dog Database. It's a requirement of the Act, but each council has to manage their part of it. So we like to give other councils a heads up when there may be a clash on their system, and to answer it, because it will come up like Brody, the German Shepherd, is the same as Brody in another district. Is it the same dog? So we like to give them a heads up. So yes, it is.
Yeah, I can imagine you get a certain amount of cross-contamination with dogs. They don't know where the boundary is, right? So yeah, and does that get picked up in the reporting with any of that sort of stuff?
Yeah, so the reporting here is reports that we've received, whether it's a dog that's come across for instance, a fouling offence. If it's a Nelson dog, it's still in our reporting because we'll issue the infringements and stuff even outside of district because the offence happened over here.
Cool, thank you. I'm happy to remove the report too.
Thank you. Councillor Kinnemans.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, I'm happy to second. I'd also like to thank Shannon for all the hard work that he's done and his team. This is not a job that's for the faint-hearted. I don't have a question per se, but I just want to make a statement of that's through you, Madam Chair. I wish to foreshadow the intent to bring to Council a motion that requests staff to evaluate an alternative method of charging fees for dog registration, and that scheme looks at it rewarding responsible dogs and dog owner status. This resolution might take me some months, but I just wanted to foreshadow that around the team now. But more importantly, Shannon, thank you and your team for what you're doing.
Just to clarify, Councillor, are you foreshadowing that as a resolution for today?
No, I'm in the future.
Okay, so foreshadowing is a sort of technical term that's used particularly here, and we're in a resolution process and things are getting amended, and someone says, well, I'll foreshadow that should this fail, then I'll do this. But that's not what you're talking about, are you? You're talking about something you're going to do in the future.
That is correct. My understanding of foreshadow is that I'm intending to produce a request to the staff through this committee in the future. So I'm just raising that point with you.
Thank you. Did someone second the report? Yes, and Councillor Shockers, you've moved it, eh? Councillor Mayling, are you?
Got a question and a comment, and probably to you, Madam Chair, and to Shannon. It's just when you look at the stats, and we are getting an increase in dogs attacking humans. I see, it's up to 58, and then attacking stock is up. And sitting on the Animal Control Committee with you, we seem to be getting more appeals about menacing dogs. And that to me is an education thing. People are still not controlling their dogs as they should. When you see 58 times that somebody's been bitten or attacked by a dog in a year, that's an increase. So we've still got some education to go. And then people don't seem to want to accept responsibility at time when the dog bites somebody. That's a view that I have, and maybe a comment from yourself or Shannon. I certainly see it.
Yes, and that's what strikes me about this, of course, is 58 human attacks, and that won't be all of them. So I certainly know of people who have been attacked or rushed, and they don't report it. So it's a pretty serious matter, and I think in the dog control hearings that we sit on, there's an automatic menacing dog classification that happens. Automatic's probably the wrong word, but the Dog Act nationally determines what happens then if a dog has attacked somebody or another dog, and then people come to the hearing to have it overturned. And I think every one of those hearings is pretty alarming, and in part just to see what's happened. It's always really awful, but also I think people are so attached to their animals that they sometimes seem to find it difficult to accept what they've actually done in spite of the evidence of what they've done. So we have some pretty uncomfortable hearings, and often people rely on that my dog's a very good and happy dog, and it's great with people and other dogs, and but in this minute, then this other thing's happened, and they turn up with people to offer their accounts of how wonderful the people's dogs are. So it's a really fraught area, actually. But certainly the amount of attacks on people and other animals is really of a concern. And I don't know how that gets adjusted. I don't know, what council can do to help move things along in terms of people's dogs being under control.
I'd like to make a quick comment there, through you, Madam Chair. The attacks on humans are happening in a wide range of areas. It's not always in council-controlled areas. So sometimes it might be on a beach, but a lot of the time we're seeing dogs leaving properties and containment issues and that sort of stuff as well. So it's a rife area, and it's like you can see in the report over the last 3 years, we've seen a steady increase in this. We've also, reflecting that, we've seen a steady increase in urban dog registrations. We're getting more dogs in this and more confined areas with more attacks, and it would be naive of me to think those aren't linked. So I do agree that we need to look at things that we can do to help educate. But I don't know if it won't solve it, but it might make it better. I think it's a sign of what we're seeing in the registration world and where these instances are happening. It's quite sad, especially when we see the appeal processes come through. Yeah, it's quite hard.
Thank you. Anything further? Oh, come, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple of things that probably are worth mentioning here. First of all, this is a report that we have to do for the Department of Internal Affairs, so it's quite standardised in terms of the coverage. But we do have the more general report that comes from the section, the regulatory manager, which picks up on the nuances. So, this discussion is really helpful where we're straying outside of what DIA want to know about, because we can actually bring that information to you in a much more nuanced way through the section manager's report. Second point, and in the spirit of following Katrina's lead of introducing new team leaders across the council, Shannon's actually taken on a new role at the moment. He will keep some of what he's doing, but he will move into the team leader community compliance space, continue to keep the dog-related functions and the traffic-related functions with him, but he's also now taken over that role. So that means we can just establish the role that he's currently in and take on the community compliance space. There will be some movement. I've cut some of his current staff to other team leaders, but it's I think it's a testament of where Shannon's positioned himself in terms of having the wider knowledge of these two areas. And so we've seen an opportunity for an efficiency, and we've taken that, and that's really about having Shannon available to exercise that approach. So I just want to let councillors know that your future reports from Shannon will be as team leader community compliance.
Thank you, Kim, and congratulations if that's in order. Ro, you've got a mover and a seconder recorded. If there's nothing further, I'll put the resolution. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thanks, Shannon. And it brings us to our final report, annual compliance and enforcement report. Carl, welcome.
Good morning, Madam Chair and councillors. I will take the report as read. There's not really much I'd like to highlight, but I will introduce my fearless sidekick, Matt, who's filling in for Dave. So Dave's overseas, and so Matt's going to is kindly come along to introduce himself to the councillors he hasn't met, but also to be able to, I guess, respond, because we are two separate teams, kind of in a way now, the way we've split. So, if some of the questions, it might be better if Matt's here to give you a more fulsome reply than I would. To go back to the report, there's nothing really much. It's been a busy year. And it's sort of kind of spanned, obviously, quite a wide range of activities, which have hopefully been covered off in the report. The only thing I would highlight is what was touched on from the group manager's kind of report and message is there's been a lot of change, a lot of foreseeable change. One of the things I've attached to the appendix and made comment on is the change to the resource management infringement offence notices. So there's been a significant uplift in the fines that have come through from the RM reform, and they come into effect on the 4th of September. So that does have significant impact on people who will be subject to those notices. The intention, I think, will be to put out a public message. So I'm developing one of those at the moment. So I think it's good to put that into the community, that there has been that change, because not everyone will be aware of it. Other than that, I'm happy to take questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Walker, even though it says you're Councillor Ellis.
Oh. Thank you, through you, Chair. Apologies for lateness. Thank you for the report. On the last thing that you commented on about the RMA and doing comms, I think that's really, really important. And I'd like to see that the comms are covered through as many avenues as we can to get that messaging out, so that the community are taking on the journey and understand the implications of what that's going to mean. And the one question that I had with regards to your report is 1.111, when it talks about the serious follow actions were taken, and it states, how many warnings, abatement notices, infringement notices, enforcement, and you give us some clear numbers there. I'm really keen to understand what those numbers were last year, and have they amped up this year, and is it tracking somewhere, and what is that based on? Are we able to get any more information, please?
Sorry, my mistake. I haven't got that on. The regulated communities up to, so it's very choppy. It is hard to portray a trend or a picture from enforcement stats. So depending on what particular activity, we were very high in abatement notices the previous year because there was a lot of water activity that obviously in the dry summer conditions required us to use the abatement notice process a lot more. So yes, we have been a little bit lower. And I can include that back into the report. We used to compare that to the previous year, but like I say, it's not consistent. It doesn't necessarily paint a picture of activity. But I'm happy to introduce a comparison in the next reports.
Through you, Chair, I think that's really important because figures on a page don't tell a story, but giving us more helps me to understand, you know, what are the hotspots out there? What is it that council potentially need to help people with educating and taking them on the journey with us as to being just an enforcement team? Thanks.
Thank you. I've just got a question about dairy effluent disposal. You know, 5.36 was a significant breach of a farm in Takaka. What was the detail of that breach, please? How significant was it?
It was significant. It was a ruptured bladder. It was a reasonably new piece of kit in this particular farm, and it exploded. So we went through obviously a formal investigation. It released a lot of effluent because that's what they store, a lot of effluent.
Do you know how much was?
We couldn't determine how much it was.
Ballpark?
Somewhere between where we think possibly. Can you remember the full? About 1 million litres. It was quite substantial.
Yeah.
If that was what it was at full capacity. We got notification of it the day after it happened, so we could not determine what the volume. They said it was not full, but they couldn't tell us what the volume was. And of course it released. So I mean, it exploded. It literally just tore and exploded and discharged whatever contents it had in it, which we obviously don't know that the exact volume out into the environment.
And into waterway, river?
Most of it went out into land. There was evidence that it had made it into a waterway. We suspect a lot of it went into ground and probably into groundwater. So, yeah.
And yeah. No evidence of, you know, wrongdoing at all. It's just a unfortunate accident.
This became it's kind of difficult. This was quite a unique case. It was quite unusual. We did go out around the country to see if there was any other evidence of these things exploding. It was installed by a contractor, someone who sells this product. This product came from it's from the Netherlands. It's predominantly used in pig farming as an effluent management system. The position of the installer was that it was fit for purpose. There was, unlike Tasman tanks and other systems that have restriction, they have relief valves and other things. This thing didn't have that. The person who took it or purchased it did not take the full bells and whistles system, so that it was offered. He didn't adopt it for whatever reason. The system functioned for about a year and passed. Every time we did monitoring of it, it was a functioning system. And at some point in time, it has failed. It's exploded, and they deny that they had anything to do with it. They said they managed it in accordance with what the instructions said, what the advisor or the installer had said. We could not disprove that. We couldn't establish why it had failed. It hadn't been punctured. It hadn't been, there was no we actually tried to get it forensically assessed. You couldn't locate anything that it would indicate that it had been stabbed or it had got a point of that would have caused it to rupture, but it had ruptured from the top around where the inlet was. It made it very difficult. We definitely had a discharge into the environment. There was no doubt about that. But the question was it suitable for prosecution? We went through the prosecution process. We took it to our person delegated to make that decision to prosecute. We sent it for the external legal review. It went through the evidence and the public interest test. And the result of that was that it was very touch and go as to whether it would be prudent to take the matter before the courts. So at that stage, we decided not to pursue it. There were a lot of other circumstances around the public interest test, which kind of set us on a pathway of approaching it other than a prosecution. So that's kind of where it got to. So going from a potential prosecution to walking it back was simply because of the circumstances and the uniqueness of the case and some challenges.
Are these systems widely used in Tasman? Or are they?
That particular farmer has now gone to a full Tasman tank, which are very common. There's many sorts of storage, effluent storage systems that are used. That particular system, no, not many. There's one, I think, in Golden Bay, which has been sited into a old disused effluent first stage pond. Yeah. And so that farmer has now become aware of that, and he's absolutely monitoring that. So it did reverberate around the community after it happened. So it did raise a lot of issues. Dairy NZ are looking at it now, and they are going to start looking at providing advice and guidance to their farmers. Like I say, it was the first time we'd ever encountered an exploding bladder system. They are used around the country, various, not that particular brand. So Dairy NZ have picked up on it and are looking at guidance material.
Okay.
So it was just such a unique, unexpected event. It's really hard for us to, we were laying sort of like new ground and approaching it.
Good that it's sort of the knowledge of it's happened, that it expanded out into the level of Dairy NZ, and it's a pretty significant discharge, isn't it? We stopped beeping. I think we're all thought we're going to take off for a moment there. Thank you. Have we got to move on a second into the report? No. Councillor McKenzie, happy to move, and Councillor Maru, happy to second. Anything further?
Is Matt going to introduce himself?
Well, I think Carl introduced Matt, but what's your role, Matt? Could you just...
So I'm a compliance officer, but I'm just standing in the team leader role while Dave Shaw's on leave for the next until close to the end of October.
Good amount of leave, isn't it? It's lovely.
Yeah.
Good on him. Thank you. Anything further? Thank you for the report, Carl. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you, everybody. That brings us to the close of our meeting. Don't know what you're going to do with the rest of your mornings, but thank you, everybody, for your contributions to the meeting today. And thank you, Ro, for your help. And Robin, acknowledgements to you. And I'll close with karakia. Tawhiri manga hua o te tai ao, mai a papa tuanuku e tākoto nei. Kia rangi nui e tū iho nei, tūtiri whakamaua kia. Tina, hui e, tākia. Thank you.